Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City Commission regular meeting this October 5th, 2021. Thank you all for being here tonight. So, as with all of our meetings, we will conduct our meetings both in person and virtually. For additional information on how to sign up or speak at a meeting, please visit www.fortlauderdale.gov/City Commission meetings. I'll repeat that. That's www.fortlauderdale.gov/City Commission meetings. Now, to help ensure decorum, we ask that you please abide by the following guidelines. Number one, please refrain from any behavior that is disruptive, distractive, or profane, or inhibits the meeting in any way. Also, while you are on the phone waiting for your opportunity to speak, please mute the meeting broadcast on whichever way you're viewing the meeting, if you're watching it simultaneously, to avoid delays with the broadcast. I'll call upon you when it is your turn to speak and also notify you when time has expired. The city staff has automatically added speakers into listen-only mode, and you will be unmuted to speak when recognized. Finally, once you have completed speaking, you will be muted and may either hang up to exit the meeting or stay connected to listen to the remainder of the meeting. So welcome, everybody. I know quite a few people have been here before, but for those that have not been here before, I'd like to welcome you to the City Commission meeting. We have a certain format that we follow. We start with the pledge and go through various housekeeping chores, and then we have presentations in which we recognize either individuals or organizations or events that are happening in our community, and those are normally done by members of this commission, and we have 4 of those tonight. And then after that, we begin with our agenda. So I thank you all for being here tonight, and so to begin our evening, I'd like to ask you all to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Thank you. We have one revision to the agenda tonight, R9. There's a memo updated to include the monument sign installation. Okay, and with that, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes and the agenda?
Mayor, I have just a couple of edits for the minutes, if that's okay.
Do you?
I
would
do.
not have expected that, but.
I do, thank you. Okay, Thursday, September 9th, 1:30 p.m., the conference meeting.
Yeah.
On page,
I was there.
There you were, page 3, second paragraph. If we could just get rid of the word "the" in front of arts education, delete that.
Okay.
And then on the minutes of Thursday, September 9th, 6 o'clock, the evening meeting, the regular meeting, on page 21, the 5th paragraph down where we're talking about the Olakino House, the intent, the way it reads, is totally opposite. So, Jeff, I think we need to add this into it. The second line says, team for their work that included addressing. After the word addressing, we need to add concerns about a proposed public restaurant, because the way the minutes read, it sounds like they're going to be adding a public restaurant. So again, if we can just add the words concerns about a proposed.
Any objections to these modifications? There being none, would you please like to move to accept the minutes and the agenda as amended? Commissioner?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm happy to.
Do I hear a
Thank you.
second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
So we got to call the roll for the meeting tonight as well. But I guess we can call that while we call the roll at the same time.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we first call roll for attendance, and then we'll call roll to vote.
Vice Mayor Moritas.
Here.
Commissioner Glassman.
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie. Not present at the moment. Commissioner Sorenson.
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes. Now now there's a motion on the floor that's been seconded, and please call the roll for that.
Commissioner McKenzie. Not present at the moment. Commissioner Sorenson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas.
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman.
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes. And the minutes as amended and the agenda are now approved. So now we begin with the presentations, and I have the honor of making the first presentation in recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month, which began on September 15th and continues through October 15th. And I'd like to invite Felipe Pinzon, who's the Executive Director of the Hispanic Unity, to join me at the podium. How are you, sir? So tonight I have the honor of presenting and reading this proclamation tonight in recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month, which began on September 15th and continues until October 15th. So whereas generations of immigrants from around the globe have relocated to the United States and have contributed to the unique character of our nation, and whereas each year Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, Central, and South America. Whereas the observation started in 1968 under President Lyndon Johnson as Hispanic Heritage Week. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan expanded this period to cover an entire month beginning September 15th and ending October 15th. Whereas September 15th is the anniversary of independence for the Latin American countries of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Additionally, Mexico and Chile celebrate their independence on September 16th and September 18th. A lot of independence that month. Whereas this year's theme, Esperanza, a celebration of Hispanic heritage and hope, encourages us to reflect on the legacy of Hispanic people who have influenced our nation's history and those who serve today as leaders throughout our country. And whereas the Hispanic population of the United States now exceeds 60 million people, constituting nearly 20% of the total population, over 30,000 Hispanic people call Fort Lauderdale their home and represent the wide range of nationalities that reflect the diversity of the American people. And finally, whereas we recognize and commend the achievements of the Hispanic American champions who have inspired others to achieve success during Hispanic Heritage Month, we join in paying tribute to the generations of Hispanic Americans who have positively influenced and enriched our nation and society. Now, therefore, we, as City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, do hereby recognize September 15th through October 15th, 2021, as Hispanic Heritage Month in the City of Fort Lauderdale. Encourage all to join and celebrate the rich cultures, contributions, and histories of those with Hispanic heritage. Dated this 5th day of October, 2021, signed by myself, Mayor Dean Trantalis. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You guys say a few words?
Thank you, City Mayor, City Commissioners. My name is Felipe Pinzon, Executive Director of Hispanic Unity. For almost 40 years, Hispanic Unity has worked with more than 500,000 families to assist them on their journey to the American dream. And during this time, the Latino community has grown to 19% in the city of Fort Lauderdale. Our work is focused on ensuring we have successful children, strong families, and civically engaged individuals. We are thankful for the city for being one of the partners in making this possible. Hispanic Heritage Month is for us a reminder that the U.S. is a country made rich with different flavors, energy, and ideas. I'm honored to accept today's proclamation on behalf of the Hispanic Unity family, which includes our staff, board of directors, as well as thousands of clients.
Very good. Thank you so much. Step over here for our picture. Next, I am pleased to invite Vice Mayor Heather Moritas, who will present a proclamation declaring October 4th through 8th, 2021 as Customer Service Week in the city of Fort Lauderdale. Vice
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And I'd like to call up to the podium some staff members to join me from our IT department, Gina and Maurizio. Are you all here? Did I say that correctly? Come on up. And if you all don't mind, just maybe standing in front of the mayor. And then from Public Works, we have Kim and Donna. You all here? Come on up if you don't mind just standing there. Okay. So thank you. So I'd like to issue a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor of the City of Fort Lauderdale in recognition of 2021 Customer Service Week. Whereas the International Customer Service Association began Customer Service Week in 1988, and whereas in 1992, the U.S. Congress proclaimed Customer Service Week a nationally recognized event devoted to acknowledging the importance of customer service and honoring the team of dedicated professionals working together on the front lines, providing excellent service to their customers. And whereas the City of Fort Lauderdale is a service-oriented municipality that relies on the efficient and courteous actions of its employees to ensure the satisfaction of its neighbors, visitors, and business customers. Since the last fiscal year beginning on October 2020, the city's public-facing departments have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. Whereas the Public Works 24-hour neighborhood call center handled 483,000 calls throughout the last fiscal year, seamlessly assisting neighbors' inquiries for various issues and complaints. Additionally, the Public Works meter reading team activated 18,550 meters and processed 86,147 service orders. Whereas during the same period, the Parking Services Division assisted 23,489 neighbors and issued more than 328,878 permits. The Utility Billing and Collections Division services over 1,000 in-person neighbors monthly and have been consistent in handling 89,517 phone calls. Whereas the Neighborhood Support Division, a central resource to address requests for information and services, received and addressed over 2,300 commission and neighbor-initiated requests for service. The division works to foster a proactive grassroots approach to communicating with Fort Lauderdale's residents, visitors, and businesses by actively listening and responding to the community. Whereas the Department of Sustainable Development answered more than 124,533 calls and served more than 55,640 neighbors who visited the building. The department also issued more than 26,126 permits, conducted more than 173,820 plan reviews, and completed more than 209,983 building, zoning, engineering, landscaping, and code enforcement inspections. Whereas the Information Technology Department attained a 91% satisfaction rate based on the ITS Customer Satisfaction Survey. The department also supported and developed the city's mobile applications and award-winning website, which allows neighbors to access city resources and information. Now, therefore, we, as the city commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 4th to 8th, 2021 as Customer Service Week. Signed, your mayor. Yay, congratulations.
Big shout out to all of you. Really, thank you for everything. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Next, I invite Commissioner Glassman, who will present a proclamation regarding the annual Afro Pride Festival in the city of Fort Lauderdale. I'd like to invite Damon Jones and Don Gunder to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor. And this proclamation is from the Office of the Mayor and presented to the Afro Pride Federation for the first annual Afro Pride Festival. Whereas historic civil rights movements led by the racially and ethnically diverse lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community who work together to elevate LGBT individuals from the margins to the mainstream of American society and away from social shame and stigma. And whereas people of color in the LGBTQ plus community have been additionally subjected to social and economic exclusion, disparities in healthcare, and limited access to desperately needed resources. This demographic has a record of being statistically at the bottom of the economic and social structure of society. And whereas, despite concerning statistics and evidence of high volume of need, the major obstacles of discrimination and limited resources remain. Additionally, the COVID-19 pandemic disproportionately affected this group and highlighted these inequities. And whereas, in response to these disadvantages, the Afro Pride Federation was founded. Afro Pride Federation's mission focuses on the solidarity, empowerment, and overall wellness of the African American and Afrocentric LGBTQ plus communities of the African and Caribbean diaspora, including those who love and support them. And whereas the Federation seeks to expand access to culturally informed services that include mental health treatment and substance abuse interventions, HIV prevention and education, and facilitation of the cultural and performing arts. And whereas the Afro Pride Federation will host the first annual Afro Pride Festival in the city of Fort Lauderdale to increase awareness about the efforts being made while providing a safe, inclusive, and diverse platform to elevate shared cultural norms and promote solidarity within the Black and Brown LGBTQ plus community. And whereas the inaugural event will be held in the city and include exhibitions of cultural and performing arts while encouraging self-love, social justice, equality, and diversity for all. Greater Fort Lauderdale is a leader in the LGBTQ plus tourism industry, boasting hundreds of LGBTQ-owned businesses and having attracted millions of LGBTQ plus visitors. And whereas the mayor and city commissioners are proud and honored to welcome the Afro Pride Federation and festival attendees for providing resources and services that the African American and Afrocentric LGBTQ plus population needs to thrive. Now, therefore, we, as city commissioners of the city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 7 through 10, 2021 as 2021 Afro Pride Weekend in the city of Fort Lauderdale and encourage all to join with us to celebrate and support the African American and Afrocentric LGBTQIA+ community and signed by our mayor, the Honorable Dean J. Trentalis. Gentlemen, someone want to speak?
Thank you so much. This is very important. Afro Pride was founded, thank you. Afro Pride was founded to foster the mental and the social wellness of the African American LGBT community. As we stated in the proclamation, COVID highlighted a lot of disparities within the community, and also being LGBT also highlighted more discrimination. So this right here, as far as social wellness and our mission to foster social wellness, how the community came together to make this happen, the city of Fort Lauderdale, this has been amazing. Thank you.
Get a photo.
Good luck. And now I'd like to invite Commissioner Sorenson to present a proclamation regarding Fire Prevention Week. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. Would the chiefs please come up?
Would that be Chief Oatmeyer, Chief Lucas, and Chief Kerr.
Yep. Chief Kerr, you can jump up. Come on, jump off, Chief. You take the picture. All right, deal, Chief. Okay. Awesome. Great. We got visuals. This is going to help even more. Sound effects too. Perfect. Great. So today, Mayor, we are celebrating Fire Recognition Week, October 3rd through the 9th, 2021. Whereas the city of Fort Lauderdale is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our city, fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are greatest at risk. According to the National Fire Protection Association, fire departments responded to 339,500 home fires in the U.S. in 2019, and home fires killed more than 2,770 civilians across the country. Whereas the Fort Lauderdale Fire Rescue employees are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home injuries through prevention and protection, education, and whereas every Fort Lauderdale resident should have working smoke and carbon monoxide alarms in their homes and know how to respond if triggered. Mayor, are you listening? You have all this in your home?
I'm
Okay,
listening.
good. A smoke alarm can sense smoke before humans can, alerting danger in the event of a fire and giving the homeowner as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. And whereas residents who have a home fire escape plan are more prepared to survive a fire and should make sure smoke and carbon monoxide alarms meet the needs of all family members, including those with sensory and physical disabilities. And whereas the 2021 Fire Prevention Week theme, Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety, which I think we're going to hear about in a little bit, we now, therefore, as the City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, hereby proclaim the week of October 3rd to the 9th, 2021 as Fire Prevention Week in the City of Fort Lauderdale and urge all the residents of Fort Lauderdale to learn the sounds of fire safety for Fire Prevention Week 2021 and support the many public safety activities and efforts of the fantastic, no one better than the Fort Lauderdale Fire Rescue Department, dated this day, 5 October 2021. Signed, your Mayor, Dean J. Trantellis. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'll turn it over to the Chiefs.
Thank you, Commissioner Sorenson, City Commissioners, Mayor Trantellis, and City Manager Lauderdale, for allowing us to educate our neighbors on the importance of learning the sounds of fire safety during Fire Prevention Week 2021. Per the National Fire Protection Association, roughly 3 out of 5 fire deaths happen in homes where there were no smoke alarms or non-working smoke alarms. Fort Lauderdale Fire Rescue urges residents to make sure they have working smoke alarms that will alert them to danger in the event of a fire. Residents should test their smoke alarms monthly by pushing the test button. Replace all smoke alarms when they are 10 years old or if they do not sound when tested. A smoke alarm that chirps indicates that the battery is bad and it should be replaced. Lastly, if the smoke alarm should sound as a result of a fire, get outside, stay outside, and call 911. Now, question. How many test their smoke alarms on a monthly basis? Jeff, let the record show only 3 people. Okay? All right, so testing it, pushing the test button.
Everybody's saying it should be.
So if you hear that, that means your alarm's sensing something. A lot of times I'm watching TV and I'm watching the news and I hear a chirp in the background. You hear a chirp. And it usually goes about 3 in the morning, you'll start hearing that chirp. It never 5 in the afternoon. It's always 3 in the morning. That chirp means your battery's bad. The old technology was you had a 9-volt battery. You would replace your battery when you replace or change your clock. So we changed that because now we have 10-year lithium-ion batteries. You basically, for 10 years, you put it up on the wall, you test it monthly, you throw it away after 10 years and get a new one. CO detector, anyone that has any gas appliances or a garage where they park their vehicle, these are very useful. Colorless, odorless gas. You cannot see it, you cannot smell it, you cannot sense it. You'll just start getting dizzy and eventually we'll find you dead. Your neighbor will call or someone will call. So you want to get one of these detectors. See if I got it right here.
And you're next to a neighbor, too. I should get it once.
So that's going to make a quick chirp, 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 chirp. So you're going to know that you're sensing something. If you're sensing something from the carbon monoxide detector, call 911. We'll come out. We got more tools and equipment that we can check and make sure that it's safe. Sometimes they do malfunction, but sometimes they're right on the money and they detect it before you do. So please, don't hesitate to call 911 if you need our services to put out a fire, save your lives, check for carbon monoxide.
Thank you, Chief.
Great.
Let's take a picture. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I didn't know there was a testing button. Nobody told me that.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Sorensen. Thank you, chiefs, and really thank you everyone who works, who are firefighters and first responders in our community. Thank you for keeping us safe. It's amazing how many calls to which they respond on a yearly basis. It's just phenomenal. But thank you. Excuse me. So at this portion of our meeting, we come to what's called the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is an opportunity for the Commission to vote on a number of items all at once, and but at the same time allows the members of this community to speak on any particular consent agenda item that they wish to speak on. Now, I will ask each members of this commission if there's an item they wish to pull. If they pull that item, that would be the time in which a member of the public can speak. Otherwise, if there was an item that's on the consent agenda that was not pulled, then we invite you at the beginning to come forward and speak on that item before the commission votes on all the items together. So I would begin with the Vice Mayor. Do you have any items you wish to pull from the consent agenda?
No, thank you.
None. Commissioner McKenzie?
Well, thank you, sir.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. CM2 and CR2.
CM2?
CR2.
CR2.
Thank
Okay. Commissioner Sorensen?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. So right now we have CM2 and CR2. So I have so there are individuals who have signed up to speak on CM6, CM7, and CR8. I think this is just to respond to questions. Ariane Glassman, Tasha Cunningham, I think those are just in response to questions. Same with Elizabeth Van Sant. So I'm just going to assume they're going to pass on it since I don't think they're in controversy. So moving forward on CM2, Commissioner Glassman.
Thank you, Mayor. And this was a theme of our conversation at my District 2 pre-agenda meeting last evening. Not so much about the event itself or the events themselves, but basically folks just requesting, Chris, if we could have just a little bit more attention paid to people directing traffic, especially at the end of events. A lot of bottlenecks, a lot of problems, and that was just a repeated theme that we really need to stay on top of having folks direct traffic, especially at the conclusion of all of these events that attract lots of people to the beach. So if we could just pay attention to that and help folks move along, that'd be great. And with that, Mayor, I'm happy to move the item.
Move the item. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas,
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and that item is approved, and I hope the event is another successful event. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being here tonight. CR2, resolution approving the appointment of bond counsel and disclosure counsel for the issuance of stormwater assessment bonds.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Again, brought up at my meeting last evening. Chris, I'm being told that we need to update the calendar in terms of constructions for different neighborhoods with regards to stormwater bond, that the dates and the work that was supposed to commence on the 7 neighborhoods, et cetera, is just a bit outdated and it can't even be found anymore. But there used to be a schedule for the neighborhoods in terms of when work was happening, and that's about all. That was a comment that came up when we discussed this item.
Okay, I'll figure out where that is. I know we're moving forward, hopefully with a contract tonight for one of those neighborhoods. So it's
Yeah.
work's moving forward, but we'll update the calendar.
That's great. People appreciate it. And with that, Mayor, I'm happy to move the item.
Would you like to introduce the resolution?
Yes, I will.
Introduced.
Thank you.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, appointing Albert D. Castillo of the law firm of Greenberg Torg, PA, to act as bond counsel, and Steve Bullock of Steve E. Bullock, PA, to act as disclosure counsel to the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in connection with issuance of Stormwater Assessment Bond Series 2022 for stormwater improvement projects, prescribing the compensation to be paid to such special counsel and providing an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and the resolution is approved. Do I hear a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda items?
Moved. Second.
Seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and those consent agenda items are now approved. Anyone who is here on those items, you may leave or stay to be entertained by the rest of the meeting. I guess there's not much interest in that, so fine. Moving on, M1, a motion approving the event agreements and extended road closures beyond 10 a.m. on the Barrier Island for the Red Bull Neymar Juniors 5 versus 5 and the Hanukkah Fair on Las Olas. I have one person who signed up to speak, which is Ari Glassman, but I don't think she's just here for questions. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
And just to comment about this item as well, Mayor, if that's okay. And I wanted to thank Ari for attending our District 2 pre-agenda meeting last night. Very helpful with all of these events. Again, there is that concern also with these events in terms of moving traffic and having people direct traffic at the end of these events. There was also some concern about how many times a year we close Las Olas between A1A and Seabreeze. And I know that it was designed as a festival street, but folks just get a little nervous about that, so I just thought I'd bring that up. And other than that, I'm happy to support these events.
Okay. Would you like to move the item?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and M1 is approved. M2, motion authorizing execution of a Sixth Amendment to the revocable license with B-Cycle. I have one person sign up to speak, Mr. Lockery, but I assume it's just to respond to questions. Any questions with regard to this item? If there are none, would someone like to move?
Moved.
Second.
Seconded, please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and M2 is now approved. M3, motion authorizing execution of a revocable license with Lauderdale Harbors Improvement Association, Inc. to install and maintain one license plate reader camera in the Cordova Road right-of-way. I have no one signed up to speak. They signed the agreement. They're going to, okay. Okay, someone like to move the item?
Moved.
Been moved. Do I hear a
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and M3 is now approved. M4, motion approving an interim agreement with Hall of Fame Partners LLC pursuant to Florida Statute Section 255.065, parent 6. I have no one signed up to speak.
Mayor, I
Mr.
believe
Mayor,
we're
this
deferring
item is they've requested deferral of this item until 10/21,
Until when?
October 21.
October 21. It's a motion to, there's a request to move it to October 21. Do I hear a motion to defer?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas,
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and that item is now deferred to October 21. M5, motion approving the City of Fort Lauderdale voting delegate and alternate for the National League of Cities 2021 Virtual City Summit and Annual Business Meeting. So that's not going to be in person then? It's just going to be
Virtual.
Okay. Are we still appointing Vice Mayor?
I am actually not available that day, but
It's
sorry, I didn't,
several days.
well, it's Friday at 4 is the vote. I'm just not available at that particular time. I'm not going. But I don't think it's necessarily, I think any of us can do it. I don't think it's just because you guys appointed me to everything else. It's
Does anyone else wish to participate?
Friday at 4.
Who's our alternate?
Well, alternate on what? So we have Broward League of Cities delegate, but is that the same thing as National League of Cities?
The National League.
Who is the voting delegate normally? I forget. I don't think I've ever voted for National League of Cities.
I can fill in for this, Mayor.
You want to do that?
Can fill in.
I mean,
So
4
there's a-
o'clock, Ben, on Friday.
okay. November 12th?
No, the day after the Galt, light up the Galt, November 19th?
Oh, sorry. Okay. November 19th.
Well, it says November 12th, 15th through 19th.
I'm sorry, I did inquire about when the exact vote would take place.
Yeah.
And they did say Friday at 4 PM.
Okay, so if you want to participate in any of those meetings, I guess.
Right. And you can register, obviously, too, but
Okay, so will someone please move to appoint Commissioner Sorensen as our delegate to the National League of Cities? meeting?
So move.
But he's got to register for the meeting.
Yeah,
oh, you do? Oh,
So, yeah.
We help take care of that.
okay, thanks.
Thank you, Jeff.
okay, please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie, or did we get a,
Was there a second? I thought I heard a second.
Second, yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas,
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and that motion is approved. Thank you so much, Ben, for doing that.
Yep.
Okay, neighborhood presentations. Is Mary Furtig here? Yes, where is she?
No.
I don't see her. She's not signed up to speak virtually. Is she on the line?
She's not on virtual.
Okay. I didn't see her.
Mayor, she let me know she was going to be on her way. She was running a little late. She had something to attend to and then was
All right,
coming.
well, there'll be, I'll take her afterwards. We have Olivier Calais. Is Olivier here? On waterway cleanup, October 23rd, 2021, Make a Difference Day. I'm going to be part of that.
That's great.
Ah,
But you know, Mayor, you make a difference every day.
yes.
You really do.
Tell my constituents that.
You really do.
Good evening,
Well, they're yours, too.
Honorable Mayor, Commission. I'm Olivier Calais, Executive Director of Paddle with a Purpose, which is a nonprofit that was recognized by this commission 4 years ago. I'm also secretary of my own civic association, Coral Shores, in District 1. If you allow me, I would like to start with a quick poll, a simple show of hand with you guys. How many of you have ever been on a paddleboard or a kayak in our waterways, on our waterways?
Only in a kayak?
Paddleboard, kayak.
I've been in a
Definitely
kayak
not a
and on a raft.
Now, the second question is how many of you have seen debris floating while kayaking? And
Vito's package fell.
Where do you go?
the last question is how many of you decided to pick it up after seeing it?
I always.
That's great. I'm very happy with
Already
that.
trained.
Some of it.
So I want to invite you to do more at your scale and at everybody's scale every day, and not only for Make a Difference Day. So I'd like you to be able to participate to that event in your districts, and then join us for a closing ceremony, awards presentation at George English Park. 2 words about Paddle with a Purpose. Like I said, we were formed in 2017 by Robert Figueroa, our president, founder.
He now lives in LA. We have for years organized monthly cleanups with volunteers in different parks and different areas, including the beach, with the help of neighborhood support, George Herska. And we have removed over 5 tons of trash up to 2 years ago. I'm happy to report that through those 300 cleanups with more than 1,500 volunteers, we've helped remove more than 15,000 pounds of our waterways in Fort Lauderdale. Our mission is to raise awareness, as you understand it, educate and inspire the general public, everybody, by bringing neighbors around events on kayaks, paddleboard, and small watercrafts, working together at reducing littering and removing trash. This grassroots movement is designed to complement, not replace, the other efforts from the city, the county, and the marine industries. So on Make a Difference Day, on October 23rd, we're partnering with the city of Fort Lauderdale, as well as the target group of dozens of neighborhood associations, civic associations, and local high schools to support a citywide waterway and shoreline cleanup. All participants are invited to do whatever they can in their neighborhood and then gather George English. I hope to see every one of you on a paddleboard or on a kayak at George English before you offer this ceremony. 3 ways I would ask this commission to consider some help and support. Help spread the word by possibly sharing our flyer with your community. Second, become a champion of that cause at your scale in your district on the 23rd. And last but not least, after this commission recognition 4 years ago, we kindly ask this commission to consider any financial support that can help us empower and further promote this civic education and action. We're grateful for the logistical support from neighbor support, but without cash, it's very hard to go further and do more events and advance our cause. So I'd like you to kindly consider a financial gesture if this city commission is willing to.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll see you on October 23rd. If you see me in the water, please pull me out.
Life jackets.
Okay, neighborhood presentation 3, Boyd Corbin, who wants to speak. Oh no, I can't believe it. Drinking water from 5 Ash Water Treatment Plant. Good evening.
At least he's consistent.
Yeah, we're getting some visuals going. Let's
Okay.
do the green one first. Doesn't look like the other ones come up, are they?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have something coming up on the screen?
No.
What is it? We disapproved?
Yeah.
Green drink.
Can you see some pictures?
Green drink.
I don't know if he's listening. All right, so is that one on the screen or no? It's not for me. It's for the audience. Oh, Dean, can I put some pictures on the screen?
I don't know, Kenny?
Where are they?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh,
Thank you.
come on. We got to move this thing along, so
Absolutely. I'm trying to. I'm ready to go.
then you can put this.
I sent them in days ago, the photos.
All right, can you help him?
There
we go.
Okay, and then to change the page?
I know, look at the color. Wow.
Is that it? Gosh.
Are we moving forward? All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready, but we're trying to get some visuals up there.
Okay,
The green one. Okay, toggle.
okay, we're starting.
Okay, good. Okay, in 1992, an engineer named Robert Reese conducted a proper 5-month-long pilot study at 5 Ash using raw water from the aquifer and determined that ozone would filter out 65% of the color and dirt in source water, costing $18 million. Ozone was never implemented. In 2019, Carollo Engineering determined that ozone would not work due to the possibility of high bromide levels in source water, unquote. That doesn't sound very scientific considering they were paid $500,000. Carollo refuses to disclose what level of bromide they found. They also ruled out using GAC and biofiltration for equally stupid reasons. Ozone with GAC and biofiltration is successfully being used to filter drinking water in Tampa, Melbourne, and many other Florida cities because it is cheap and effective. But Fort Lauderdale wants to use Carollo's bad engineering report to justify building a $400 million plant using membrane technology and ion exchange, which is much more expensive to build and run. It also wastes 15% of the water being filtered. Earlier this year, Reese Engineering tried to do a $120,000 pilot study at 5 Ash, but they weren't allowed to use raw water. Instead, the city utility employees made them use water after lime was added to it, which clogged up their equipment. Reese presented their final report 3 months ago on June 11th, but the city refuses to fulfill my public records request. What are you hiding? I have already hired a lawyer for this. Starting today, lasting through the next 3 weeks, 250,000 Broward County residents will be drinking water full of regulated toxic chemicals that are several times higher than the EPA allows. Pregnant women should not drink this water due to known risks of fetal retardation. The city needs to do a proper pilot study using source water, just like the $1 million 2017 Reese Utility Master Plan calls for. Let's talk about pilot studies. We tried to do one this year and it failed. Do you guys have any comments or you just want to forget about it? Ben, we had a meeting a year and a half ago about this, remember?
But this is a neighborhood presentation.
Right, I know, but it's
not a
up for
debate.
question and answer. You've interrupted me before to talk about things you want to talk about,
Okay.
but if you just want to move on real quick to a P3 and spend $400 million and just build a new water treatment plant by the airport, by the executive airport, which will take 10 years.
Okay, your 3 minutes is
Let's-
up. We appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and we thank you very much for coming tonight. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Microphone on. Some of these suggestions he's making, I'd like to, if we could have staff address this, because,
We have addressed it.
okay,
And
well,
that's why we're moving forward with a new treatment plan.
okay, well,
All the issues that he keeps bringing up meeting after meeting. This city staff is already focused on that and other issues. And just because he keeps bringing it up, it doesn't mean that it's something new. We've been trying to deal with this thing for several years, this commission, and I think now that we're on the cusp of making a decision, when is it going to be brought to us? Chris, when do you think we'll be making a decision going forward?
Well, we're looking at having something to present to the commission hopefully next month.
Next month, okay.
okay, so, but I'd just like to clear up a couple things. Chris, are there toxic chemicals in our drinking water?
There are not. What Mr. Corbin, I think, is referring to is the process that we've used and many other water treatment facilities use across the nation, and that's a free chlorination event to keep our readings within safe drinking levels. And it's a process that we've implemented, and as has water utilities across the nation.
Last time I checked the water.
No, Mayor, I don't think it's appropriate.
Excuse me,
for him
Mr.
to-
Corbin,
It was
you may
5
sit down.
times
You may sit
the
down.
levels.
Your time is up.
Go ahead.
This is a conversation between a commissioner and city staff.
I'm correcting him because
then
he's
when-
telling me,
If you
he's
don't
telling
sit
the
down,
public,
sir,
he's telling
you're
the
done.
public.
We appreciate your being here, but we don't want you to be disruptive of our.
And I think it's important to say what's clear to the public is our water utility is highly regulated. And
Thank you,
it's
Chris.
highly regulated with routine tests, with sample tests, and we receive a permit to distribute drinking water based upon the fact that we run a solid water utility. So Any other suggestion or notion that would contradict that is frankly not supported by the data.
Thank you, Chris. And pregnant women may safely drink our drinking water. Is that correct?
Anybody in Fort Lauderdale may safely drink our drinking water.
Thank you. And refusing to fulfill a public records request, assuming, is that accurate, Chris?
We receive records requests. They're received through the clerk. It does take some time to process them from time to time, and we disclose records that are disclosable under state statute.
Thank you very much. And this piece about not using source water for the pilot, can you just give us any feedback on that?
I can't. I don't know it well enough to provide you good information there.
Okay. All right. And in our view, is a Corolla report, quote, bad engineering report?
We accepted the Corolla report and this commission accepted it as a report that we felt was done appropriately. It was done by engineers. It made recommendations, and we're following those recommendations.
And isn't membrane filtration actually a preferred means of filtration?
It is a system of filtration different than what we have today that will meet the standards that we provided, which was a certain level of clarity and a certain level of taste.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, you're very welcome. Mary Fertig, you're up. Good evening, Mary.
Good evening. Can y'all hear me? Yeah, I'm gonna take this off. I just, before you start timing me, I raced back here from Lockhart where we did have the meeting with the 2 high schools and the Inner Miami folks and parents and kids and so forth. So if you want to know how fast you can make it back from the stadium to here.
What was the purpose of the meeting?
Well, we had talked, if you'll recall, about a month ago about the need for more seating. And so they've reached out and we've been trying to put this together, working with the different schools. And just ironically, Stranahan had a game there tonight. So there was a lot of activity and a lot of music and they were playing Miramar. So we know who we want to win, right? Yeah.
So was Inner Miami responsive?
Well, I think this is the beginning of trying to, come up with some solutions. Some of this is probably too technical for me, like the height of the stands for the cameras and things like that. So, but fortunately, the athletic directors from the schools were there, and the school board staff from the athletics department and people that actually know about it. So, and a lot of parents came. A lot of parents came and talked about, the needing seats for band students, needing seats for the majorettes and of course there's the fans. And
so we're just talking about more bleachers, right?
Yes, we're talking about, my understanding after listening to it tonight was more bleachers and maybe some height so you can get good pictures and
Oh, I see.
so the coaches can get what they need. Anyways, it was a good meeting. It was a beautiful evening, and I'm sorry I had to leave there because it was really
It's
pretty.
okay.
Thanks, Mary. Mary, who would pay for all this? Who would pay for all these seats and bleachers?
Well, we were just talking conceptually when we first talked about
Sure.
I didn't really come talk about this tonight, but I'll
No,
tell you
this
that when we
is-
first talked
this is
about
helpful.
the stadium.
It's great.
However, I don't even remember what it was, 2019, I guess it was, that we had met. And Stephanie came up and we had, talked with Inner Miami, and I know we came to your office. We came, I think, to every
Spent a lot of
office.
time working on it.
And we had been talking 2,500 seats. It's
Yep.
1,500, and that's been fine for COVID. But now that we're coming out of COVID, we are seeing, more band students want to come and more fans want to come. And of course, the big game that I think all of you will be invited to is November 5th. That's the Lauderdale Stranahan homecoming. So the homecoming game is always between the two rivals.
So, okay,
anyways.
so I'm assuming Inner Miami would pay for this. Do you have any idea?
I mean, we were just explaining to them, they
Okay.
were great. They were very responsive in reaching out after that meeting and saying, what can we do to talk about the needs for the stadium? And so this was that meeting. This was
Great.
the first meeting we've had. I think it'll be the first of whatever.
Phenomenal. Great.
So,
Great news on how it's being
yeah,
utilized.
no, it's a beautiful field. If you all haven't been up there
Yeah.
for a high school game, you might want to go.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right, great. Thank you for coming
Thank
by.
you.
All right, so let us
Okay.
start it all over.
Good evening. I am
Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Good evening. I am here on behalf of Lauderdale Tomorrow. Our organization was founded in part to advocate on behalf of public lands. In recent months, we have become increasingly alarmed by the manner in which public lands issues are handled. And first of all, the growing number of P3 proposals have been brought forward dealing with projects on public lands. Some are seen as beneficial, some are not. That's not the issue. The issue is the notice to the public of key decisions in the process. Since July 6th, 3 P3 projects on public lands have been on agendas where the public has received 6 days notice on one item over a holiday weekend, 4 days notice on 3 discussions. One discussion, which was quite lengthy, occurred with no public notice as the result of a commissioner's report. The commission agenda memos for these discussions are typically minimal, providing no real information to the public provided prior to the meeting. In some cases, the public, and it is to be assumed the commission, receive lengthy comprehensive agreements with little time for review. In another instance, a matter dealing with public lands, potential leases, and significant alterations to the publicly owned property was brought forward on July 6th with no backup and a 2-sentence commission memo. Clearly, information available to the public on proposed licenses, leases, and/or sale of public lands is minimal. The public owns these lands and should have the ability to be aware of proposed encumbrances and agreements in a timely manner, as well as being able to voice their ideas and concerns. After much discussion on how to have a more effective and responsible approach that allows for full community review and participation, we'll be advocating in the next few months for several changes in city policies as well as the charter. For example, some cities have adopted a city ordinance governing P3 projects which outline the process and include requirements such as a needs assessment, property appraisal, financial assessment, risk assessment, value to money assessment. One example of a city that's done this is Miami-Dade. We'd like to see our city do the same thing. Another potential change to the charter that's been discussed would be a requirement that lands that were purchased pursuant to a vote of city residents can only be licensed, leased, or sold by the same vote of the public. Another possible charter change would create a city vision for public lands that would help to guide in the acquisition, lease, license, or sale of such lands. March 12, 2019, the citizens of Fort Lauderdale overwhelmingly approved a parks bond, which according to the city website states that in part, funding for the parks bond will also be used for land acquisition to expand our green space and to help us continue to promote active, healthy lifestyles, ensure leisure and social engagement, and enhance quality of life. Public support for acquiring, expanding green space is strong. Public support for protecting our existing lands is strong. We hope you will work with us to better ensure processes and procedures. Thank you.
Mary, do you just have one copy of that? I'd like to.
I actually have 2 copies.
I'd like to, if you could submit one for the record. Because you read it very quickly, and I wanted to be.
Might be a few typos.
I'm sorry? Oh, there's, okay.
Commissioner Glassman will
Don't
correct
give it to
those.
Steve, yeah.
No problem. We'll take it under advisement.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's right. He's available
Thank you.
for a fee.
Alan, are we able to get a copy of the ordinance that Miami-Dade passed, just to review it ourselves, or how would I go about getting a copy of it, I guess?
I can find you a copy of it.
Okay, thank you. I think
Jeff, could you give me
would be helpful,
She wrote.
just for us to see what other cities are doing as we all start getting more P3s.
Okay, thank you. Thank all of you for participating in neighborhood presentations. On to resolutions. R1, appointment of board and committee members. Would you like to read the names?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, for the October 21st meeting, we talked briefly, I guess it was conference meeting, about the Noise Control Advisory Committee, and these are 2 names that were brought forward by Mayor Trentalis, Mike Penrod, and Jackie Scott. If we add these to tonight's resolution as amended, we'll have a quorum. In addition, a couple other names brought forward. Alfredo Olvera, brought forward by Commissioner Glassman for the Northwest Progreso Flagler Heights Redevelopment Board, and for the Cemetery System Board of Trustees, Mark Van Vries, brought forward by Mayor Trentalis. For tonight's resolution, Aviation Advisory Board, Pierre Taschereau, nominated by Mayor Trentalis, Community Appearance Board, Ed Murphy, nominated by Commissioner Sorenson, and Michael Rigg, nominated by Commissioner Glassman. Education Advisory Board, Amy Elowitz, nominated by Commissioner Glassman. Tina Jaramillo, nominated by Mayor Trentalis, and Suzanne Dean, nominated by Vice Mayor Moritas. For the Marine Advisory Board, James Harrison, nominated by Commissioner McKenzie. Noise Control Advisory Committee, these are the other appointments. Chad McCory, nominated by Commissioner Glassman. Renee Quinn, nominated by Commissioner Glassman. Tim Petrillo, nominated by Vice Mayor Moritas. Gina Ellis, nominated by Commissioner McKenzie. And Dave Mutwani, nominated by Commissioner McKenzie. Parks, Rec, and Beaches Board, Mariana Seiler, nominated by Commissioner McKenzie. Brucey Cummings, nominated by Commissioner Sorenson. Joanne Smith, nominated by Commissioner Sorenson. Deborah Rosenbaum, nominated by Commissioner Glassman. Carrie Villanueva, nominated by Commissioner Glassman. Alex Colazzo, nominated by Commissioner Glassman. And Sustainability Advisory Board, Carol Tamberry, nominated by Commissioner McKenzie. And that rounds it off.
All right, great. Would someone like to introduce a resolution?
Introduced.
Thank
And
you.
that's as amended with the
As amended.
As amended,
names that I read.
with the names of the fine city clerk read.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, appointing or nominating, if applicable, board and committee members as set forth in the exhibit attached hereto and made a part hereof. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorenson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and I'd like to thank all those members of boards and committees for participating and giving of their time and their efforts to helping Fort Lauderdale continue to be the city that it is. R2, resolution approving the transfer of 6 city-owned properties located along Northwest 22nd Road in Northwest Progreso Flagler Heights Community Redevelopment Area to the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency pursuant to Section 8.02 of the Charter of the City of Fort Lauderdale. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduce.
Any questions regarding this? There being none, please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, approving the transfer of 6 city-owned properties located on Northwest 22nd Road to the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency for public purposes pursuant to Section 8.02 of the City Charter, subject to terms and conditions authorizing the proper city officials to execute the conveyance instruments and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorenson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and R2 is approved. R3, resolution approving the transfer of 7 city-owned properties located in the Northwest Progreso Flagler Heights and Central City Community Redevelopment Area to the to the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency for Affordable Housing pursuant to Section 8.02 of the Charter of the City of Fort Lauderdale. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
Any questions? There being none, please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, approving the transfer of 1 city-owned property located in the Central City Community Redevelopment Area and 6 city-owned properties located in the Northwest Progreso Flagler Heights Community Redevelopment Area to the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency for public purposes pursuant to Section 8.02 of the City Charter, subject to terms and conditions authorizing the proper city officials to execute the conveyance instruments and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and R3 is approved. R4, resolution accepting the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee's 2021 Affordable Housing Incentive Report and authorizing the submission to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
It's been introduced. Any questions? There being none, please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, accepting and approving the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee's State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program 2021 Affordable Housing Incentive Report and authorizing the submission to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation, authorizing the city manager to execute any and all documents relating to the submission of the 2021 Affordable Housing Incentive Report to the FHFC and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and the resolution is approved. R5, resolution amending the 2019-2022 State Housing Initiatives Partnership Local Housing Assistance Plan. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduce.
It's been introduced. Any questions? Please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending the 2019-2022 State Housing Initiative Partnership Local Housing Assistance Plan to add a new construction home ownership strategy to increase production of affordable housing, authorizing the city manager to execute any and all documents relating to the amendment of the 2019 to 2022 LHAP and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and that resolution is now approved. R6, a resolution to award city-owned surplus property located at 4590 Peters Road in unincorporated Broward County to the Housing Authority of the City of Fort Lauderdale pursuant to Section 8.02 of the Charter of the City of Fort Lauderdale. I have several people who've signed up to speak. Is Juan Vasquez here? Would you mind coming up to the podium? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. And good evening, Madam Vice Mayor and fellow commissioners. Thank you for listening to my concerns. My concerns are also echoed by many people that are in my community. I've been born and raised in Broadview Park. That's the neighborhood where this property is located at. And I first want to echo Miss Mary Ferdig's comments about notice to the public. I myself found out serendipitously by a Facebook post in neighboring Plantation. Those citizens are also unaware of what's going on with this property. Nobody knows what's going on, and we're just now finding out about it just a matter of days ago. This commission meeting is also scheduled at the same time as the Broadview Park Civic Association meeting, and the Broadview Park Civic Association meeting was unaware of what was happening with this project up until just a couple days ago. So that's a very big concern. What I saw was that it's being proposed to build 500 to 1,000 units on this very small area of land, and 500 to 1,000 units of affordable housing. And the elephant in the room is crime's going up, property values going down, and we know that, this is done with the knowledge that any given 1,000 people, there are 980 that are probably not criminals. We know this. But there's a density issue here. That's 1,000 units could easily equal 3,000, 4,000 people, and Peters Road is not capable of handling that kind of traffic. There's only one point of entry going in and out of the neighborhood now. There's a plan to change the point of entries to Broadview Park so that it's, one lane is going east and then the other lane is going west, which doesn't make any sense either. We're worried about, how is this going to impact the environment? This is the last vestige of wildlife area that's left over from the Everglades, which used to start on 441. It's just not a good idea to be putting this high concentration of anybody in that small area of land. And I urge you to reach out to the neighbors in Plantation, reach out to the neighbors in Broadview Park, and inform them, and maybe have somebody come and give us some information and maybe take some questions from us, because we're the ones that live right next to that property.
Can I just help you out here a little bit?
Sure, absolutely.
Tonight we are not voting on a site plan. We're not voting on anything except the transfer of ownership.
I understand that.
So we're not trying to deny the community the opportunity to respond to whatever development that might take place there. That tonight's not really the night for that. So I don't want you to feel, I don't want anyone in Broadview or anyone to feel that this commission is trying to snooker the community. We fully intend there to be an open discussion regarding the site plan, and you'll certainly have that opportunity to review and respond to it at that time.
I understand what you're saying. The community doesn't feel that way because we're finding out about this through, not through official means. We're finding out about this from, word of mouth from other people.
Well, now it's on your radar, and
It's on my radar, yeah, but not because you guys put it on my radar. It's because
well,
I put it on my radar.
It's a transfer of ownership.
Sure, I understand that.
It's not really regarding anything you brought up tonight. What you brought up tonight may have merit, and there may be some discussion and conversation to have regarding it, but that's not what we're voting on tonight. So those details have yet to be worked out, and we would welcome the opportunity. I'm sure the developer is going to go out there and speak to the neighborhood. I know Mr. Lockery, you're going to still do neighborhood outreach, so we're nowhere near where you think we are. So the developer.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. All right.
But there was a posting on a plantation politics group that was, copy and pasted and posted to the Broadview Park Civic Association group, where it said proposal 500 to 1,000 units of low income, affordable housing, 40% reserved for people living below the median income level for the county. And I'm going to tell you, quite frankly, what that looks like to a lot of the neighbors in my neighborhood is, why was the area of Sistrunk, Fort Lauderdale borders mainly on 441, with the exception of, some little properties here and there. Why was the area of Sistrunk redeveloped for these $1 million condos, and then the affordable housing being relegated to an area outside of the city at the very edges of, where the city boundaries are? That's the way that it appears to a lot of neighbors in the neighborhood, and it's very concerning.
All right. So you have that opportunity to bring that up.
Let me help him out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since I represent District 3 and you want to use affordable housing as in my opinion, an obstacle or a barrier as to why you don't want something, my district.
Could you wait? I'm sorry.
My district houses the most low income housing in the city of Fort Lauderdale. I don't want low.
Could you clarify what you meant by in your opinion, that
in my opinion, you're using affordable housing as like it's something you don't want in your neighborhood. But I'm going to give you a history since you use Sistrunk. Sistrunk houses the most low income and affordable income in the city of Fort Lauderdale.
I'm very aware of that.
We also have 4 of these projects that we're proposing for you in my district, and I too don't want low income, but I welcome these projects based on what was there before. And if you would take a tour of any one of them, Northwest Gardens, Dixie Court, you'll see what product it is and what type of people are living there. And one of the screening processes with the Housing Authority, we do take in consideration the criminal element. So we do not want that either. So I think the best thing for you tonight, not knowing, as the mayor has indicated, what is coming, is to meet with Mr. Lockery and Mr. Tam English so that all of your concerns are heard and you are part of this process as it moves forward, you and the Broadview Civic Association. That's what I would recommend. And you'll get a better understanding as to what they do. And you might like the product that they're gonna propose to put there, but at least be at the table with them so your concerns are heard.
Thank you. Thank you for your statement. I'd just like to say that, Broadview Park I've lived there my entire life. So I grew up lower middle class. And like I said in my statement, we are all very aware that when you have any given 1,000 low-income individuals, that 980 of them may not be
it's
criminals.
affordable.
Excuse me. Thank you. Affordable. Thank you. I misspoke there.
No, and we
So, like
listen,
what I said.
But let me hold on a second. And it's good that you're saying this, because now we get to understand what affordable is and how it's going to work out. And I think if you just would stay the course with us, you'll see that you're not going to get what you think you're going to get, and you may have a lot of input.
Well, the
that
point
would
is
directly,
we don't know what's happening, and we just found out
because
about all of this.
we don't know either, because the concept we accepted, and we have done 6 projects with them in the last 10 to 15 years, with 400 to 500 units per project, and they all turned out very nicely. And I even had apprehension from my own community, which is the capital of low income. Once we got past the fear, we embraced the product that came along with it. So I'm just encouraging you to get with this group, and I think we can navigate through it. And then there's going to be a time where you can say, hey, I don't want this, but I want you to just be open-minded when you look at it. And
I know
sit with this group.
Open-minded, and the entire neighborhood is very open-minded, and it's not fear-based, it's concern-based, because there's a question of the density.
And maybe I used the wrong word. Maybe it's concern-based, but still, I think you sit with them. I think you're gonna appreciate what's going to be proposed there.
All righty, very good.
And I would love to have $1 million projects in my district, but it just doesn't happen that way.
Well, we don't want $1 million project there either. I mean, we're most of the people don't want the density, the increase of traffic, the increase of people. We're questioning if the schools can handle it, all, everything from top to bottom,
But all that's going to be considered and mitigated in it. And I think if you sit with them, you'll have an opportunity to say it's not 800 units now, it's 740 or it's 600. You'll be able to have that input if you just would sit with these folks and just see how it works out.
And I plan on sitting with them. I just wanted to make sure that my comments were on record, and that it was on record that it's not just my comments, but they're echoed throughout the community.
Okay. I'm glad you came out, really. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be more than happy to walk with you, ride with you, and walk you through the process.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you for being here tonight. Is Dale Bidding? He's appearing virtually. Is he on the line? Bitting. Dale Bidding? Nope. Okay. Yasmirel Reynoso. Yasmirel?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am a homeowner that resides in the Broadview Park community. I am a first-time homeowner, and I've lived there for 4 years. I echo what the person before me said of we didn't have advance notice of the sale of this property, of this land. We didn't know that it was for sale. I think a lot of the residents assumed that it was kind of protected land that would never be developed. And so to be informed that the city is going to sell this land for only $1 to the city of Fort Lauderdale to build, or there's plans to build between 500 and 1,000 units, that is a lot of residents moving into the neighborhood. This is primarily a home, mostly homes. There's really no apartments or temporary. I think the most are multifamily properties with maybe 4 units in Broadview. And so to, I guess, propose a actual apartment building with over 500 units is very astonishing and would deeply impact the community. It would change the dynamic. It would change it would uplift the whole community. And so I just wanted to bring up the concerns that a lot of the residents have that weren't able to attend either in person or virtually because it coincides with our civic association meeting that only meets every other month. So we don't have a lot of opportunities to be made aware of projects and plans, and to kind of not have enough time or input to voice our concerns. And I echo a lot of what you've heard already of just the concern of property values, the concerns of the community changing, and, can we even handle that with what's proposed? I would have loved to see plans of what the developers are proposing to provide input. And again, not being aware that that land was even for sale. We live in the city, so there's not a lot of open spaces anymore, and that, has provided some boundaries between some of the other communities. We're right on the edge of Plantation, so on one side of the street, you're in unincorporated Broward, and on the other side of the Peters, you're in Plantation. So just wanting to voice the opinion of what seems like sometimes a forgotten community in the cut, and want to raise concerns of how this proposal will impact the community.
All right. Well, great. Thank you for coming to speak to the commission tonight. We appreciate your participation, and I encourage you to look forward to the neighborhood outreach that the Housing Authority and Mr. Lockery will be undertaking in the weeks ahead. Mr. Lockery and Tam, do you have anything you want to add tonight, or do you want to wait until we start talking about site plans and all that? You want to talk? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Robert Lockery on behalf of the Fort Lauderdale Housing Authority. I just want to say that we too appreciate the folks who have come and spoken tonight. Certainly we will begin outreach. This is just the beginning of this process. And from here, we will listen to them, we'll talk to them, we'll show them the plans, and over the next couple of years, we'll be working through that process. So just this tonight just allows us to begin that. So we do appreciate their comments, and we'll be talking to them quite a bit over the next few months. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Robert, just for clarity around the land sale, as it were, I think the city of Fort Lauderdale, right, has owned this for years. I don't know how long.
That's correct. Certainly a lot longer than me. I actually, Broadview is certainly not a forgotten neighborhood. I grew up just on the other side of 441 or State Road 7. Fort Lauderdale's owned it, I think, for a very long time. I don't know if the city manager knows. Certainly.
Neil Dixie is our older of our two water plants, and it was always and continues to be preserved as a location where if we need future groundwater wells, we can.
Yeah,
bring them
certainly
from
as
that
long
site.
as when the city used to own Fort Lauderdale Country Club, for example.
Okay, so I mean, we're talking 40, 50,
Oh, yeah, 20s,
60, 70
20s,
years.
30s probably.
And I think it'd be helpful, Robert, if you just helped understand the relationship between the city of Fort Lauderdale and the Housing Authority. What is that? Who
Certainly.
did they sell to? Could they have sold to anyone else? I mean, just give us a little context.
Sure, of course. Fort Lauderdale Housing Authority is actually a creation of the state that operates under the city of Fort Lauderdale. Its board is appointed by the mayor. So it operates in conjunction with the city of Fort Lauderdale in providing the affordable housing needs, or at least assisting with those. I also heard the comment, which I completely understand, about somehow building outside the city instead of within the city. As Commissioner McKenzie noted, Fort Lauderdale Housing Authority has built over 1,700 new units in the city of Fort Lauderdale in the last couple years, coupled with about 500 to 600. I think I personally worked on about 2,200 new affordable housing projects, including downtown high-rises that the city of Fort Lauderdale is building within the city limits as well. The way the conveyance works, because it's one governmental agency essentially to another governmental agency, that's how the transfer occurs. And by the way, the transfer doesn't occur immediately as well. We'll be going through a process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this item? Any other questions from the commission? Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduce.
It's been introduced. Please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, pursuant to City Charter, Section 8.02, approving the sale of the Housing Authority of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in consideration of $1 of real property located at 4590 Peters Road, unincorporated Broward County, Florida, 33317, approving the purchase and sale agreement, authorizing the proper city officials to execute the contract, and further delegating authority to the city manager to to take certain actions and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and R6 is now approved. R7 is a resolution providing notice of decision to proceed with the unsolicited proposal submitted by the boring company for the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of a proposed subsurface tunnel system from downtown Fort Lauderdale to Fort Lauderdale Beach, and authorizing negotiations of a proposed interim and/or comprehensive agreement in accordance with Section 2.55.065 of the Florida statutes. I had one person sign up to speak. Mr. Corbin? Be interesting.
The public-private partnership, P3, to build a tunnel sounds like a good idea because Elon Musk's company, named the Boring Company, brings a lot of experience to the table. They are good at what they do. However, the P3 with Ridgewood infrastructure to replace 5-ash is a bad idea. It's a 4-year-old company with just 18 employees, made of bankers, finance people, and 3 water advisors who seem to be snake oil salesmen. They will just raise hundreds of millions of dollars, which would be paid back with interest, plus profits, by increasing our water bills. Their focus will be on short-term profits for their investors instead of prioritizing clean, clear drinking water for the 250,000 consumers of 5-ash drinking water. Last week, I attended the completion ceremony for the new $65 million 7-mile sewer line. Mayor Trentalis explained that the old sewer line broke due to old age. That's just not true. Broken clay sewer lines allow sand to get in, which destroyed the cement-lined iron pipes through abrasion. You replaced it with HDPE pipe, which is just plastic. These brand new plastic pipes won't last very long since you have not stopped the inflow and infiltration, called I&I, of sand. Considering the sand abrasion issue, didn't Trish at Hazen and Sawyer recommend ceramic epoxy-lined iron pipes instead of plastic? That material is extremely abrasion resistant. There's no way plastic pipes will last 100 years. We'll be lucky with 10 years under these sandy conditions. But by that time, the city commission and city management will be long gone, leaving residents to clean up your mess. You need to start listening to good engineering companies like Hazen and also Reese. Stop playing games by hiring Carollo Engineering to give you the answers you're looking for, and stop allowing the city utility workers from sabotaging Reese Engineering Studies, which is exactly what happened earlier this year. We don't mind paying more for cleaner water systems and sewer pipes that don't kill most of the marine life in our rivers and canals. You need to fix our inflow and infiltration problems and the Green Yellow City tap water issue now, or else step aside and let competent people step in. Your embarrassing ceremonies aren't fooling anyone. They're just making you look like fools. Ben, they will not test city drinking water for trihalomethanes and haloacidic acids over the next 3 weeks.
Okay,
and
thank
if you
you.
believe the city manager that there's
Thank you,
zero
Mr.
of
Corbin.
these toxins in our water,
Thank you,
just
Mr. Corbin. I just want to respond a little bit to that. I'm just talking to the public right now.
Okay.
I had the opportunity to see the condition of that sewer pipe as it was taken out of the ground, and it was like the thickness of onion skin paper. It had been completely corroded. I'm proud of the work that this city manager and public works staff has done to bring us to this point, to be able to succeed in trying to reverse the practice of neglect and to finally rebuild our underground infrastructure. And I want to thank the commissioners and the entire commission for their support, either with whether they were that day at the ceremony or in their support of moving forward with that project. For anyone to come to this commission chamber and to start to denigrate the work that this commission and this staff have done over the last 18 months, I think is unfortunate. I know Mr. Corbin doesn't live in our city, but he seems to find his way here all the time to castigate the city, even though I think his efforts are probably best applied in the city in which he lives. So thank you. Was it tasty? Anyway, please. Okay, thank you. I appreciate, well, I'm not funny. I've heard you. You want to say it again?
Mayor, this has nothing to do with R7. The talk should have been cut off right as soon as it pivoted to.
But I wanted Mr. Corbin to be able to say his piece.
Okay, but it has nothing to do with the agenda.
I know.
And I'd be happy to go point by point as to how many points Mr. Corbin had wrong, but that would be almost the whole 3 minutes.
Wait, can we ask questions about it? Or
Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduce.
Okay, now, any questions regarding the resolution? There being none, please call the roll.
wait, I do have a question. I'm sorry. I'm confused. You're distracting me. I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm going to let you get settled so I can put my thoughts together. Thank you. I think I just got this.
Calling the roll to close the public hearing?
Oh, this is different. Okay.
We're calling the roll to vote on the item?
Yes, where are we?
The public piece.
No, there was no,
Okay, I just want to make sure, because the
yeah,
public.
we don't have to
that
vote to
confused
close
all of us.
public hearing, no.
Okay, so we can ask questions now. I was just looking at the title, and it says and/or interim agreement and/or comprehensive agreement. So do we anticipate getting an interim agreement? Because I think it may be helpful. I appreciated kind of seeing that process with the aquatic center that we're going through.
That'll be part of the negotiations. It's probably a good idea, but it's going to take, we haven't started negotiating or even talking to the boring company because this will actually permit us to do that.
Okay.
So we haven't really engaged in that. So it's an option on the table. So we wanted to permit that option to be included in the title.
Okay, well, how do we get that option? Or do we as a commission need to discuss and decide if we should have the interim
Well,
agreement? Do you all decide? How does that work?
We haven't started any negotiation. We haven't even started. I haven't even started. I mean, I've had preliminary conversations.
We can't enter into any interim or comprehensive agreement unless we approve it.
Correct, I understand that, but I do like the interim agreement process because it just gives us a little bit more time to digest what's happening and then to answer our concerns.
There's obviously a lot of analysis that's going to have to take place starting now. So it's going to be possibly a lengthier process, obviously, than what we're used to.
Okay.
So we'll be coming back to you, obviously, to brief you as we go forward. But I don't even know right now, without having spoken to them, what their posture is going to be or how they've done this in a couple other cities, and we've hired counsel that have worked with them in other cities, but we're still not there yet to really determine what's going to be appropriate for us.
Okay.
If you could just keep us informed of the process.
So you will at least give us an update as we're going
Absolutely.
through, and then just make sure the public knows about it or it's agended or whatever, so we can.
This just keeps all of our options open.
Okay. Yes, no, and I do want to explore it. I just want enough time, just when we're, discussing agreements. I do remember the comprehensive agreement, with Inter Miami, and that was a couple days before we voted. So I probably do want a little bit more time to process these unsolicited proposals as they come forward. So, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. So, Chris and Alan, just give us kind of a high-level overview here. So, if this is approved today, then generally what happens next and what's the kind of process and how many days and so forth? Give us a little high level, please.
Well, if you approve this tonight, you're telling us to go ahead and proceed with negotiations. So I pick up the phone and I'm going to start talking to the boring company. Obviously, I and my counsel will get engaged with counsel from the boring company. They'll be on the staff side. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of analysis. There's going to have to be conversations about how logistically we go forward. There's a lot of regulatory work to be done between the federal government, the state, county, everything else. Obviously, it implicates a lot of regulatory agencies. So it's preliminarily, it's going to be us sort of setting the mapping of where we're going to go from here.
Yep.
And then we'll be able to brief you better as to what course of action we think we need to go forward. Obviously, there's an engineering component and there's a legal component. There's a variety of things that we're going to have to look at.
Great. And there's an environmental assessment, there's an engineering, a structural,
Regulatory, we can go on and on.
regulatory. We aren't limiting our ability for choices here, right? In any way, we're able to maintain independence and moving forward or not.
Choices in what regard?
So is this committing that we are absolutely going to do this?
No, you're not committed until you actually, well, again, it depends how we go.
Yep.
So if we get, and I haven't dealt with the boring company before, but if we get into an interim agreement standpoint, you may get into a situation where we are committing dollars
Sure.
to the underlying work. You're not fully committed to the project until you actually sign a comprehensive agreement.
Yep.
But you have, as a commission, selected this project to go forward. So it's not like you can come back and say, well, you can reject it completely and walk away and say, well, we want something else. But as this project has been proposed, it would be a tunnel as has been proposed.
Yep. Great.
And we've sort of worked our way through a process. In order for us to keep talking about it, this has to happen.
Yep.
Otherwise, we really just need to stop talking about it. So
Right.
that's sort of what this does, is it says, we've met all the procedural requirements. Now you guys go work on it and bring something back to us.
Exactly. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Mayor, I just had one question. Yes, I do. Thank you. So, Chris and Alan, I think this is going to need a lot of vetting and a lot of outside expertise. And so is that something that the city has, or will we be hiring people to provide all that expertise on this kind of a project? Or does Boring Company pay for all of that independent expertise that we're going to need to properly vet this project?
So what I can tell you at this point is that I don't know the answer to your question. We probably do have some talent in-house that's capable of some review, and probably will need some talent that we don't currently have. But that's, again, we're having this discussion so that we can continue those discussions, so I can make an informed decision and say, we need this engineering, we need this environmental, we need this regulatory. I just don't know that yet.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
But keep in mind, if you're voting for this tonight, you're basically saying, you're making a good faith representation that you want to continue with the process, so that
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to move forward, and we want to move forward with full due diligence, I think is
right.
Is the kind of posture. Yeah. And Chris, Alan, from a Boring Company perspective, that any communications you've had with them, continued interest and wanting to move forward and positive engagement thus far?
Yeah, our conversations, at least mine, have been fewer and farther between since they were when we were in that advertising period and other,
Right.
times for people to compete. But they've been very open, very accessible, easy to get to. Have indicated to me that of all the projects they've worked on, that they have the most interest in Fort Lauderdale. They still think this is a very viable project. They're excited about it as an organization, as a company, so they haven't lost any interest that I've been able to detect at all.
Excellent. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, there being none, please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, providing notice of its decision to proceed with the unsolicited proposal submitted by the Boring Company for the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of a proposed subsurface tunnel system from downtown Fort Lauderdale to Fort Lauderdale Beach, and authorizing negotiations of a proposed interim and/or comprehensive agreement in accordance with Section 255.065 Florida Statutes 2021 and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
No.
Commissioner Sorenson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and the resolution is approved. Moving on to R8, this is a quasi-judicial resolution regarding a modified site plan as a proposed settlement in a Florida Land Use and Environmental Dispute Resolution Act process and a site plan level 4 development permit for 115 multifamily residential units, 168 hotel rooms, 3,600 square feet of restaurant use, and 3,156 square feet retail use, Bayshore Hotel LLC, and 3030 Bayshore Properties. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in, and the commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record.
Mayor, I believe we have a request for deferral on this as well.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
what I saw.
Is there a request to defer?
Mr. Mayor, there is a request to defer until October 21st.
Okay. Would someone like to move to defer this?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Yes.
This is to defer to October 21st.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas,
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes. And the item is deferred until October 21st. R9, resolution approving the naming of a portion of the Riverwalk walking trail along the north side of the New River between Southwest 4th Avenue and Southwest 2nd Avenue, partially located in the H1 Historic Preservation Zoning District of Fort Lauderdale as the Edward D. Stone Jr. Trail at Riverwalk. Someone like to explain to the commission what the genesis of this request is?
Be happy to take a stab at that. So we had a request for a naming of a trail that is behind the historic district there along the Riverwalk. This request came in. We have a process by which the request is reviewed. It does go to the Parks and Recreation and Beaches Advisory Board, as well as in this case to the Historic Preservation Board, both of who suggested unanimously approval of this naming. Edward D. Stone, the founder of EDSA, that we know as a firm that has worked a lot in Fort Lauderdale, was instrumental in the creation of the design and creation of the Riverwalk. Mr. Stone was the founder of that organization, and this would be a way to name something in his honor adjacent to the Riverwalk.
Okay, so who asked for this?
We had an application come in from colleagues at EDSA.
Okay. All right, there are two people who have signed up to speak, both virtually. Douglas Smith, is Doug Smith on the line?
He is.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. You have 3 minutes.
Good. Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Again, my name is Doug Smith. I'm a principal with EDSA. I reside at 1701 Northeast 19th Street here in Fort Lauderdale. And Chris described the process very well. We brought this to the Parks and Recreation and Beaches Advisory Board in June, and then the stretch of the Riverwalk that we'd like to designate as the Edward D. Stone Jr. Trail happens to overlap into the H1 Historic Preservation District that lies just on the west side of the railroad tracks on the Riverwalk. And so it needed to go to the Historic Preservation Board. I'm happy to say we received a unanimous approval from both of those boards. We also have a backing of several citizens and other leaders, including Gina Ellis, who is head of the Riverwalk, Inc. So I'm here this evening just to simply answer any questions or concerns, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Michelle Rennick, is Michelle there?
I don't see that name virtually.
Michelle? No? Okay.
No.
All right. Anyone have any questions regarding this? Okay, there being none, will someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, approving the naming of a portion of the Riverwalk walking trail along the north side of the New River between Southwest 4th Avenue and Southwest 2nd Avenue, partially located in the H1 Historic Preservation Zoning District of Fort Lauderdale as the Edward D. Stone Jr. Trail at Riverwalk, and authorizing the installation of 2 monument signs within specified boundaries approved by the Historic Preservation Board and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the resolution is approved. Congratulations, and it's a great honor to Mr. Stone for all the work he's done in our community. Now, ordinance on first reading. This is an ordinance amending the City of Fort Lauderdale Unified Land Development Regulations, measurements to redefine the term grade. Someone like to explain to the community what this is about?
I'm going to have to call on Mr. Fajardo to do
Mr.
that.
Fajardo.
You might as well stay close for the next one, too.
Good evening, Anthony Fajardo, Sustainable Development. So OFR 1 is in regards to the notion that our current code requires that if an accessory structure is built on a piece of property that is then raised to meet FEMA flood elevations, the overall height limitation has to be measured from the neighboring property, which is lower. So where this came, this got pointed out when the Lennar project in Riverside Park was under construction. So they had to raise the whole property because the FEMA flood elevation was higher than the existing neighboring properties. But when they put in the fence, they couldn't build it up high enough. So they asked Lennar to go to Board of Adjustment. Board of Adjustment approved the variance to raise the height of the fence, and then Board of Adjustment asked staff to look into making an adjustment to the definition of grade. So all this does is require that any accessory structures are then measured from the grade of the development site, not the neighboring parcel.
Okay, any further questions? There being none.
Wait, I do have one question real quick. Anthony,
ahead.
does this tie into the next one also? Or 1 and 2?
Not really, no. That's why they're separate.
Oh, that
One
would
is a
make sense.
definition of one is a definition of grade in 47-2, I believe, of our ULDR, and the second one is in 47-19.
Okay, I guess my question is, I know we talked before, Mayor, about maybe the possibility of prohibiting fences in the front yard. Does either one of these?
That's what the second item is.
That's the second item. I was just trying to wonder where that was. Okay, got it. So the first one's not. Okay.
Okay, any further questions? Someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
It's been introduced. Please call the roll.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale amending Section 47-2.2 entitled Measurements of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Unified Land Development Regulations to change the definition of the term grade, providing for conflicts and repeal, and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorenson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and the ordinance is approved on first reading. OFR 2, first reading, ordinance amending the Unified Land Development Regulations regarding fence, walls, and hedges, height, and transparency requirements. So, Vice Mayor, do you have any questions?
Yes, can you just explain to me then what is or what will be allowed on the front lawns?
Yes, so this proposed amendment came about after discussion with the City Commission about the first item regarding fences and the height.
Yeah.
The mayor had expressed interest in us looking at what we could do to address fences that are at a height of 6 foot 6 inches in the front yard, causing this canyon effect along right-of-ways and decreasing the visibility of front yards. So when we discussed that, you had brought up the fact that in your district, some of the properties are smaller and people don't have as much yard and much opportunity for privacy. So what we did was we proposed an ordinance amendment that would lower the height of fences in the front yard from 6 foot 6 inches to, I believe, 42 inches, with an exception that if you are in an area that has properties that are under 100 feet of lot depth, that you could then have the fence higher, because the premise there is that some of those properties have put pools in the front yard, that type of thing, and they actually fundamentally use their front yard as their backyard because they really don't have space.
So what would be the dimensions of the lot size then, like 100?
100 feet deep.
100 feet deep.
Yeah, okay, so that's about the size of, my property. So our neighborhood, where I am, our lots are smaller, especially compared to Coal Ridge.
We did base our analysis on your district.
Okay.
Now, that's an opaque fence, right? Because I have a fence wall around my house.
Pickets.
What's it called?
You got a wall with pickets.
You're right. So that's not opaque. You can see through it.
Right.
People can still have that at 6.5 feet if it's more than more than 100 foot depth, right?
Let me check.
Shall I rephrase my question?
No, your question is good because that's what I brought up the last time.
Right. I mean, we're just talking about the purpose of this is to
Privacy
prevent
fence.
opaqueness.
Right.
We don't want to. We want to see.
I think the mayor has committed a code violation, I think is what's
Yes.
happened.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Glassman, is that what you're?
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth, Commissioner.
Grandfathered in?
Yes.
City manager? Is
took the
there,
words
yeah,
right.
can we get a code vehicle
It'll be there with
Thank
out
you.
there?
I'm glad you
Thank
called
you.
them out, not me. Thank
Everyone
you.
needs to be treated equally.
We
Thank
sure
you.
should.
I think you get caught in it based on what you're doing.
Wait, so also,
That wasn't the intent.
Yeah, but I would like to see other houses have the same kind of wall that I have because it's more decorative than it is anything.
I know, but if you have your little kids playing in the front lawn in a pool, you really don't want creepy people walking by
I
and
fully
seeing that.
understand that. That's why
Yeah.
my pool is
Well,
not.
I think,
Like the ice cream truck guy, that always kind of freaks me out.
No, you're right. I agree
Yeah.
with that.
and that's why we
Well,
did
I,
it.
Like,
think what
all
we-
the little kids are running out in their bathing suits when someone
I think
drives
what we
by
did
playing
was
music.
we didn't think it through. Like we always want to change something.
kids ice cream.
We don't think about the people that want the wall fence with the pickets or want a 6 foot fence. All we had to do was say we want to allow privacy fences in the front for people with a minimum of 100 feet
Maximum,
or less.
maximum.
But
Maximum.
we always want what we want. We don't figure out what is best for everybody.
So, so what is your
But you got to make sure that you're not caught in this
He has a beautiful.
because you're redoing your fence
property
too.
with
wall has
nice-
been there longer than.
Anthony, did you find anything? Because I can make a comment while you're doing it. You good? Go ahead.
You can make the comment if you'd like, but
Go ahead. Do it. Go ahead.
Ice cream.
We took the opacity requirements out in favor of the proposed amendment.
The
So
what?
right now there's incentives, what I would refer to as incentives in the ordinance. So basically, if you want to do a 6 foot 6 inch fence in the front yard, you can't put it on the property line. The code kind of incentivizes you to go lower or to make it more transparent by requiring that if it's not, you have to set it back 3 feet and you have to put in landscaping. And it's to soften the edge of the fence so it doesn't, be this large structure right on the right away or the sidewalk.
If you do 6 feet,
If you go above,
Well, my property line is 10 feet away from my property line. It's out. It's not in the right of way.
no, it's right at your sidewalk.
I mean,
isn't it?
not the right of way. The
Property line.
Set the sidewalk.
so here,
there's
Sidewalk.
no sidewalk.
Well, pretend there's a sidewalk
There's
there.
an easement from the road, from the edge of the road.
So
to
your
the road
property line is what he's talking
to
about.
the fence to the wall. There's 10 feet.
there's a lot of depth in a lot of neighborhoods when you look at where the roadway is and where the actual property line starts. I once lived in South Middle River and I had 14 feet of yard that I did not own. And there was no sidewalk there. So if I put up a fence, it would have been 14
if you
feet.
put a sidewalk in front of his house, his fence sits on the property line.
No, I think
Well,
my property
I would
goes
assume so.
Yeah,
the road
hopefully
edge,
it's not past
but
it.
it's just there's an
The
easement.
road edge?
Yeah, there's an
No, but I'm
easement.
saying, but that I'm using the separation of the sidewalk from the city.
E. Wayne to the rescue. Come on.
The city swale.
Yeah, but then the
not on-
sidewalk belongs to us too. I think.
In my according to my last survey, the survey shows the boundary to the edge of the street. So but it's still, the wall is still built 10 feet away from the edge of the street because
Right.
of the easement that the city has.
Which would put you right there at the tip of a sidewalk if it was there.
Well, the sidewalk would only be 4 feet.
Yeah, but it still would be right. Trust me.
Well, but the point is that,
So
can
I'm
we
trying to-
allow
Right.
6'6" walls as long as they're not opaque at for properties that are less than, greater than 125 feet?
Why don't we just leave it alone?
Why don't we just leave it alone?
Yeah, well, I don't even know why we're doing this. And if you read,
Go ahead, Steve.
I'll tell you why
No,
we're doing it.
if you read the Planning and Zoning Board minutes, it's fascinating, actually. They voted unanimously not to do what we're discussing now. But their reasons were really good.
What were their reasons?
Lots of reasons. I mean, first of all, they thought that, well, I'll go through them. I wrote them down. I might as well just go through them. Hold on, I'm sorry.
While you're looking,
Go ahead.
the reason
Here we go.
for this was because there's a proliferation of wood fences that are 3 feet away from the road that people are putting up that are opaque and is creating a wall along certain blocks in the neighborhood, which is really unattractive, especially since these wooden fences are never kept up. They're never painted. The paint is always chipping off, and it's just an unsightly distraction from what otherwise would be an attractive curb appeal that most of these houses would have. Now, to the point that Mr. Fajardo made, that a lot of people who have smaller lots tend to use their front yard as their backyard, I fully understand, and it makes sense to grandfather them in or to allow that exception to allow folks that have a smaller lot to be able to have that privacy wall because they still use their yard, their front yard, for recreation or whatever purpose. But if you have a wider yard above 100 feet, the rule is 4.5 feet tall, in order to allow for a visual connectivity between those who are viewing from the street and the house itself. It's just to create a nicer feeling when you're driving through a neighborhood. That was the
Yeah, but if the criteria aren't met, then people are limited to the 4 foot 4 inches, right? According to what we're looking at and addressing now. So, okay, so I'll just go through these objections, and I actually happen to agree with them in terms of, by the way, this goes for hedges too, right? Not just fences.
Says hedges.
It says hedges, yeah.
Hedges also, so, okay. So basically, it affects the privacy afforded to homeowners in their front yards. Again, you limit many people to 4 foot 4.
Wait, say it again? You
limit people to 4 foot 4 inches. Many people, and I'll get into some of the specifics why, because that's a formula. That it could actually be considered punishing properties with larger lots, because a large number of lots that are just over 100 feet in depth, these owners would not be able to erect 6 foot 6 inch fence unless the majority of their neighbors have lots, right, less than 100 foot depth.
Less than 100 feet, 300 feet away from the site that would like the fence, and 80% of those have to be lots that are
right. So this gets just a little too crazy for me, and to me, it's just not worth it. So also, what if there's okay, so there's a further concern. What about the problem of owners with deep lots erecting 6 foot 6 inch fences? And then, is that going to be who's going to check all of this, and who's going to actually enforce all of this and know whether people can do this or they cannot do it?
Well, it would be done through the permitting process. Any fence that's in existence prior to the adoption of this would just be legal nonconforming.
Do we know how many people this might actually affect if we did pass this?
Not done that analysis.
Okay, that's very serious to me. I think you need to know how many people we're going to be affecting here. Also, okay, did this come up at Board of Adjustment ever, this issue?
No, not that I'm aware of. The only issue the Board of Adjustment ever brought to our attention regarding fences was the height that we talked about for grade.
Okay, so at present, 6 foot 6 inches is allowed for anyone, right?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, any changes, any difference of restrictions or criteria for historic Sailboat Bend residential neighborhood?
Sailboat Bend doesn't have its own criteria, but it is in the document that was adopted, I believe, in 2013, saying that the preference should be lower fences with pickets.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk about that another day. But I'm not even sure how many people would want a 6 foot 6 inch fence in front of their homes. But I would think that if they want it, I really don't have an issue.
Drive through my neighborhood. I know you live on the beach.
Oh, I have driven through your neighborhood.
I know you have a wall system around your project on the beach.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
What wall system?
You have a wall system on the sides and in the back. You have a wall.
A wall?
Yeah. So the point is that if you drive through some of the neighborhoods, there's a pattern developing in certain neighborhoods that they're just house after house of hey, if you don't want to do it, you don't. I'm just trying to keep the city beautiful, and if it becomes a stockade of house after house putting up these wooden fences, it's going to be a regrettable occurrence.
I don't think it's going to become a stockade because I don't think everyone's going to even want to do this. I really don't. By the way, what happens if you have a corner property?
Come through your district in Poinsettia Heights and see that.
I have. What happens if you have a corner house? How does that work?
So the way we designed the ordinance was to acknowledge that the corner property, you could basically fence, even though you're on two right-of-ways, the front to the front setback if you can picture what that looks like. So all the way to the front setback, usually the face of the house would have to be at the lower height. Once you got behind the front setback on the side where the other right-of-way was, you could go back up to 6 feet 6 inches. So that we thought it was important to maintain that aspect of privacy on the side yard if there's a limitation because you're on a corner lot, which in the neighborhood I live in, some of the houses don't have rear yards because of the corner. So they could use that side yard on one of the streets as their area where they would have a higher fence.
What about, again, Mayor, I'm also concerned about people. Do we know how many people have pools in their front yards?
No.
Because that, to me, why would you limit them to 4 foot 4 inches if they have a pool in their front yard? And by the way, I have seen a lot of attractive tall fences. I really have. There's some beautiful wrought iron fencing, some really nice decorative fencing. So to me, I would just leave this alone.
Well, the point is that wrought iron fencing is not what we're talking about. We're talking about opaque fencing, which means you completely
see it.
wrought iron is not, you can see through it.
Right.
So that's the difference.
Well, again, I just.
Why don't you just ban wooden fences?
No.
I mean, that's what the intent
Well,
was.
I would love to do that, but it's not. You can't do that.
Yeah.
People
Ban
want-
straws.
No, because you
ban-
That's
people
what I'm
want to.
saying. You can do that. If that's the intent instead of, because right now, I think Steve is right.
It's a
Because it gets hairy.
less.
Does
it's a
get
less
hairy.
difficult-
It's a hairy
it's less.
situation.
It's less of an imposition because you're denying people the right to at least be able to use their front yard if they have a small backyard. And so when staff said, let's apply it only to homes that are less than 100 feet deep, I understand that. You know, people want to put pools in their front yard. They want the privacy.
Can I put a pool in my front yard? Is it permissible?
Yes.
Yes.
You just have to meet
And
the
if I
setbacks.
put a pool in my front yard, I have to put a fence. Am I correct?
Yes, and that's how we came.
Two
with the-
fences.
Well, that's how we came up with the height
Right.
initially because we were meeting the
So
pool
it's-
barrier requirements.
So you're forced to put a fence anyway, if you're gonna do the pool. So if the pool is the issue from the north, and Poncietta is talking about these wooden fences, let's just go out the wooden fences in the front yard.
I would like to do that.
But then if we do this, I think we're gonna get.
This is one step. Let's just take one step at a time and see how it works out.
It's too
But it-
drastic.
He responds to it. I think that's
Because
what-
right now, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Because right now, if we didn't do anything and I put a 6-foot fence in my front yard, which I'm allowed to do, right? And I could choose wood, picket, wall, or hedges, right?
Yes.
I can't exceed the 6 feet. And the minimum is 4 feet, right?
Well, for a pool barrier, you have to meet the minimum, which is 4 feet. But if you don't have a pool, you can put it as low as you'd like.
So right now, can I put a 6-foot hedge in front of my house?
Yes.
I can. Can I put an 8-foot hedge?
No, it's capped at 6'6".
So if I had a hedge that I planted at 2 feet and it's now 8 feet, is that permissible?
Go
It's
home and cut
technically
your
not.
hair.
It should be trimmed back. Yes.
It's not my hedge, it's my neighbor's.
Okay.
Better cut it. Yeah. Go measure that tonight.
I took my front yard fence down.
A hedge clipper.
Well, then, just like the mayor, your neighbor's in code violation.
We got
Listen, I would love for them to cut all of those, all of that vegetation down. I wouldn't call it trees or landscape.
Can I introduce this, Mayor?
Yes.
Wait, I have one more
Thank you.
question. Wait,
Introduce.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
First of all, it's been introduced, but now we can have more.
Okay, well,
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you. The legal non-conforming, help me understand that though. So let's say I had the 6-foot fence in my front yard, and if I went to sell my house, would the new owner then have to replace it
No.
if we pass
Grandfathered
this?
in.
Yeah, it's
So legal non-conforming means grandfathered?
Grandfather until you touch it.
Right, but I thought if you sell it, then you have to ungrandfather it.
Fence.
No.
Touch it. If 3 owners are away, touch it, it's no longer non-conforming.
There are some caveats to that. If there's structural issues with any legal non-conforming structure, the code does allow you to make those repairs.
Yeah, you can repair it. You can repair it.
Right, I'm wondering if that wasn't an implication.
No, it stays. It runs with the land. It stays.
Those are land, but if you
Okay.
try to.
But, also, Mayor, I'm thinking of my bigger lots in Coral Ridge. A lot of people on Bayview kind of put up that privacy because they're on Bayview.
Do they?
Yeah.
How many houses in Coral Ridge have front yard pools?
I went to one recently. They have a front yard and they actually have a wall and it's on Bayview.
Well, first of all, they have to have a 6-foot fence anyway because the
But they
state
have a
law
pool.
requires
They have a pool in the front, but yeah, it's kind of a wallish type.
But even when you ride now with some, you take Victoria Park, for example.
Okay.
These fences, they exist. People are doing all kinds of decorative. It's cool to have a fence in your yard now, in the front yard. And they got these wooden fences with decorative stuff on it. They got wall fences. They got iron fences. But most of the people aren't trying to put pickets when they put a fence. They're trying to do this.
Those picket fences are usually about 3.5 to 4 feet tall.
Right, but you ride down 6th Street
Yep.
in Victoria Park, probably every new townhouse has a 6-foot fence in the front of it with some type of
Because they have no lot. There's no
but they're still trying to create privacy. And
Exactly.
they're doing that.
I know that.
So I think to toy with it, it's a little hairy.
I just feel that I just think it creates a visual obstruction of what would otherwise be a great view from the street for the community. I just think fences, especially since you say you see more and more now. Wait in 2 or 3 years, you see what condition they're in. People don't take care of them, and it creates. It's just visual pollution as far as.
If you're not taking care of your fence, 9 times out of 10, your house doesn't look too good.
But then that's a code issue.
Yeah, I know, but
What is the minimum for requirement if you have a pool in your front yard? The fence has to be 6 feet?
4 feet.
4 feet.
No.
4.
It's, it's 4 feet. I mean,
4
it's-
feet.
It's only 4, that's the whole thing. It's only 4 feet. So if you want to put a pool in your front yard and you have less than 100 feet, can you put a 6 feet, 6 inches?
you can only if it's less than 100 feet, then you can put a 6-foot fence up. If it's more than 100 feet,
You can't put
you can't put it.
exactly
You can put a 4.5.
4.5.
Right. Yeah, I think we should stay away from this.
So do I agree with you.
All right, let's vote.
All right, let's vote. Please call the roll.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale amending Section 47-19.5 entitled Fences, Walls, and Hedges of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations to amend the dimensional requirements for fences, walls, and hedges, providing for conflicts and repeal, and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
No.
Commissioner Sorenson?
No.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
No.
Commissioner Glassman?
Just one question, Mayor. Is Mexico going to pay for the wall? No, I'm going to vote no on this.
Mayor Trentalis?
Fantastic. Hey, Mayor, can we?
You will rue the day.
That's
You'll
right. We will.
You owe me.
say,
You owe me more time.
listen to the mayor.
You owe me
Exactly.
more time.
That'll
You
happen
owe
many
me more
times.
time.
Sure. Mayor, I don't think Rufus was in the room when we were celebrating his. Can we just give him a round of applause for his award that he's getting?
Oh.
Yeah, Rufus. He's available for autographs after.
And Rufus,
Thank you.
none of us will be there to see it happen.
Right,
So
exactly.
just so you understand.
I hope you have someone
Don't
joining
take it
you.
personally.
Rufus, do you have a 6-foot fence in your front?
Yeah,
Or do you
exactly.
have a
What's
4-foot fence?
Rufus got?
Well, first of all, I want to thank
In
city
Fort Lauderdale.
staff for putting together this proposed ordinance. Please don't put it on your shelf too far away, because I know it'll come back.
Did you vote?
Back
Right.
and say, why didn't you pass that?
Right.
So, ordinance of second reading,
I
OSR.
don't
OSR.
understand you.
Huh?
I do not understand you.
What do you mean? Just because look, I came up with an idea. I feel I have a solution. I worked with city staff to create what we thought was a proposal that we should at least attempt and see how it works.
Right.
The rest of the commission didn't agree, and that's it. That's the majority wins. But I know that in time, people come to see, gee, the mayor was right. Look at all these.
You're always right, sir.
But Mayor, seriously, you know what you did accomplish? I have never seen the Planning and Zoning Board vote unanimously on anything. So, congratulations on that accomplishment. You brought unity. You brought unity to the Planning and Zoning Board. I've never seen them vote unanimously on anything.
You are now historic.
Congratulations on that, Mayor.
He's the people's mayor.
He's the
Brings them
people's
together.
mayor.
Brings them together.
Bringing everyone together.
The
Excellent. Thank you.
Put that on my next campaign brochure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. No M&Ms for you tonight. Okay.
Did we all vote? Are we done?
No, we're not done yet.
Right. Oh, yeah.
OSR 1, this is an ordinance on second reading. The ordinance amending the City of Fort Lauderdale Unified Land Development Regulations, development permit procedures, providing for approval process for developing utilizing flexibility rules, and amending section 47-28 density and flexibility rules, establishing intent and purpose, and amending definitions and amending applicability. Someone like to introduce the ordinance? Any questions regarding this? There being none, please call the roll.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, implementing the Broward County Land Use Plan flexibility rules in the City of Fort Lauderdale, amending Section 47-24.1, Table 1 of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations entitled Development Permits and Procedures, providing for approval process for development utilizing flexibility rules, amending Section 47-28 entitled Flexibility Rules by replacing Section 47-28.1 entitled Applicability Conditions with Section 47-28.1 entitled Intent and Purpose, creating a new Section 47-28.2 entitled Definitions and Section 47-28.3 entitled Applicability, providing for conflicts and repeal and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moritas?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Glassman, what's your vote?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and the ordinance is now approved on second reading. Is there any further business of this commission?
I have a question.
I do have one request when you're done.
Commissioner McKenzie, go ahead.
I think I might have emailed it to you, Alan. I had a issue come up last evening in my agenda review, and it was these community newspapers they throw with the coupons in it. Can we stop that?
I didn't get the, if you didn't
Well,
send it to
okay,
me.
well, I'm just asking because I just thought about it with this fence thing.
If you do send it to me, I'll take a look at it. Off the top of my head, I couldn't.
Because they throw these papers in your yard every morning.
I don't think you can prevent them from doing
I didn't think so either, but
I don't think
get
so.
a legal opinion.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I didn't think we
can look
could.
at it. We could look at it.
Just let me know so I can take it back because I got beat up pretty bad with it.
Okay.
So I do have one.
Yes,
request.
Mr. Boileau.
Yes, I am seeking the advice of the city commission for the next meeting.
Yes, you can go home and celebrate your
Anniversary.
your
Thank you.
wedding anniversary. Yes.
20th.
Pursuant to section 286.011.
I said, please.
Section 8. I know, that's why I'm keeping it going. I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm trying to keep it going.
I'll buy you a beer.
In the matter of Mark Messina et al. Versus City of Fort Lauderdale, this is, by the way, the panhandling case.
Okay.
Case number 21-60168, pending before U.S. District Judge Altman. Probably 20 minutes will be sufficient at the next meeting.
Okay. Is there any further business of the commission? There being none, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Mayor.